And I'm still working on my Coke addiction, my Diet Coke addiction, that is.
That's why poor people stay poor and rich people stay rich. The movie The Matrix is not science fiction. It's a documentary. Every human, and this is a fact, a child below 7 has a lower vibration than consciousness. It's called theta. Theta is imagination. Oh, that's how kids play a tea party with mud pies, but to them it's a real thing. A kid rides a broom, it's a horse. That's theta, imagination. Theta is also hypnosis. And the idea is this: before you can become conscious, if you don't have any programs, what are you going to be conscious of? So nature makes the first 7 years. What kind of programs are required to live on this planet? I say, how do you get them? Theta is hypnosis. You just watch.
I think news media and media in general are very negative in terms of any revolutionary movement or any movement that, forces the change of the status quo. Now, media has always been an enemy of black people, because what media has done is media has always singled out people who had vanguard positions or vanguard attitudes and tried to make these people an enemy of the masses of people. In our case, make individuals enemies of black people. Malcolm X would be a good example. More Negroes feared Malcolm X than white people, because news media told black people that Malcolm was bad. Muhammad Ali, the reason that Muhammad Ali could be given a maximum sentence and a maximum fine and the black community did not revolt was because Muhammad Ali had been made an enemy of black people. Adam Clayton Powell could be legally lynched, politically lynched, and black people did not revolt. It was because the man had told black people that Adam.
But being friendly and being a friend, I think, are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. Mm-hmm. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. Mm-hmm. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that
I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, mm-hmm. economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, mm-hmm. who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
Order 10995 allows the government to seize and control the communication media. Executive Order 10997 allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, fuels, and minerals. Executive Order 10998 allows the government to seize all means of transportation, including personal cars, trucks, or vehicles of any kind, and total control over highways, seaports, and waterways. Executive Order 10999 allows the government to take over all food resources and farms. Executive Order 11000 allows the government to mobilize civilians into work brigades under government supervision. Executive Order 11001 allows the government to take over all health, education, and welfare functions. 1002 designates the Postmaster General to operate a national registration of all persons. Executive Order
Oh my god, guys, we look so popular.
Can you airdrop me that video?
Yeah. Wait, what is your name again? Are you?
I'm Mom's Queef.
Okay.
We chase valueless things because we put value on things that we're told to put value on. And it brings about a lot of misery. And we just keep making a great big effort to become more and more miserable without understanding that that's what we're doing. We think that we're finding happiness when we're going just in the opposite direction. Running here, running there, doing this, doing that. Just got to go. Got to do it. Why? Because somebody said so. the average black male in the Northwestern Hemisphere exists today. They want a lot of things, but they don't want hardly any effort to get them in a constructive manner. And many of the things that they want are not of constructive value, except for showing off. Showing off to whom? Other black people. Do just enough to show off to other black people. And many black people throughout the world have this type of mentality.
This is the first thing I want to say to you. You want to do hip-hop? You got to stand like this. With hip-hop is everything's down low. Your hands are always like this. That's what makes a hip-hop. Start out just hitting it, hitting it, hitting it. And hip-hop is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, hit, and Hip-hop is an attitude. It's right here. Boom, bam. Every time. Or And that's what makes it look like hip-hop. This is me. This is how I am. This is a lifestyle. This is it. What we call popping, straight. It was like this. But in hip-hop, it's like this. See, there's a difference. Hit, I'll give them a ba. They look at me like I'm crazy, but then they know this right here is me. Keep pretending.
So you knew she was 13, so from the start. No. I can tell you at this point in time as well, I'm from an organisation known as Dark Justice. There's going to be no hostilities or violence towards yourself. No one's going to touch you, sir. You have nothing to worry about at this point in time. You are going to be questioned by the police about why you're here tonight. Right. You are here to meet a 13-year-old girl, sir. You could just please keep your hand out your pockets just for my safety and your safety, sir. Because if you pull anything out of your pockets, then I'm going to have to react. Right. And you don't want that, sir, and I don't want that. No. Yeah, right. It is late at night, you know what I mean? Now, you knew she was 13, sir. How long were we going to be here? We're not going to be long. The police are going to be here fairly soon. Police are a minute away, sir.
I'm looking at you with, I don't know, $10 million worth of diamonds and gold and everything, and then I'm looking at your shoes that are just a disaster. Now, will you explain to me, what's with these shoes all taped up looking tacky?
You see, well, to some people they might say it's tacky, but there's a message in these shoes. You see, these shoes keep me humble. If you recall last time that we met, I had these shoes. They wasn't in that bad of a shape, you know. But these shoes are handed down through my family. My father wore them, my brothers wore them, and things like that. So they keep me humble, keep me and let me remember that I have a brothers and sisters back in Chicago, not doing to where I got mother and father that I must take care of. So you see, out in Hollywood, and especially all the money that I'm making now, it's so easy for me to get caught up in all these material stuff and forget where I'm coming from. So wherever I'm whether I'm with a governor or a mayor or a reception or whatever, when I look down at my shoes, they let me know, hey, I can't get too carried away here. So it keeps me level. As I say, I want to keep my feet on the ground and my head toward heaven.
Do you want food stamps? Well, then get a job. Michigan is the latest state to enforce work requirements for those in need of food assistance. Under the program, able-bodied adults will have 3 months to find a job before losing their benefits. They will have to attend job training, volunteer, or work an average of 20 hours each week. Now, the work requirements, waived since 2002, were reinstated due to increased employment rates. 29 states now require participants to have a job.
I'm afraid there is no money available. Do you know what's in your drinking water? A shocking Associated Press investigation found various pharmaceuticals in the drinking supplies of at least 41 million Americans. Tainted water was found from New Jersey to California. NBC's Tom Costello is following the story from Washington. First of all, what kinds of drugs are we talking about, and how dangerous is this?
Pretty wide range. Here's the drinking water in Washington, D.C. They found 6 pharmaceuticals in our drinking water here. They include ibuprofen, caffeine, monosin, and about 3 or 4 others. In Philadelphia, they had 56 pharmaceuticals or byproducts. They range everything from epilepsy medication to mental health medicines to pharmaceuticals that really run the gamut. Here's the bottom line from the Associated Press on the study they did. It was a 5-month investigation. 50 major cities in 50 states were looked at. Drugs were found in the water of 24 major cities. So what's in the water? Everything from acetaminophen and ibuprofen to mood stabilizers, antibiotics, heart, cholesterol drugs, and even sex hormones.
I grew up around Native American people, primarily the Cheyenne and the Crow. I remember coming home one day and we were going to go into one of the kids' teepees with his parents, and the mother said, "Take those shoes off, they'll make you sick." It was just strange why she would say they would make you sick. I wouldn't have had a clue at that time.
In simple terms, grounding is literally putting your bare feet on the ground. When you do that, you're in contact with the Earth, and Mother Earth is endowed with electrons. And these electrons are literally absorbed through your feet. It's like taking handfuls of antioxidants, but you're getting it through the feet.
Grounding means connecting to the Earth to...
Kenapa orang ini nggak pindah? Ini orang nggak pindah. Allahu Akbar. وبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون.
Around for the camera when suddenly a mysterious dark figure walks by the window. As the person holding the camera rushes to investigate, the two open the door and head into what appears to be an operating theatre. Suddenly, a table begins to move for no apparent reason. The startled pair quickly leave the room, and as they do, the camera holder does a full 360-degree sweep of the room. There's no one else in the room and no other door that the mysterious figure could have entered or exited from. What was this shadowy figure? Could it have been the ghost of someone that passed away in this very operating room?
My first time,
I was nervous.
My first time
was in the back of a firehouse. It was amazing.
I mean, I didn't know how to do it. Where to put it, where to slide it in.
My first time.
I am a feminist, communist, otherkin, non-binary, asexual YouTuber.
Stop it. Get some help.
I am non-binary, and that means I identify as something other than male or female.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
76 genders, even though there are probably more like millions of gender.
Wow! The land of make-believe!
I don't care if I'm in South Africa, Nigeria,
I don't care if I'm in Holland, Austria, Jamaica, Turks and Caicos, Canada, LA, Houston. On the planet, there's 4 constants for African people. Number 1, we're worshiping a white Jesus. I don't care where you go. Black people in love with a white Christ. That's number 1. Number 2, you have mass incarceration of black males at a rate 4 or 5 times their percentage of the population in that particular state. Number 3, you have miseducation of black children. You have the over-identification of black children in classifications of mental retardation, ADHD, learning disabled. You have record numbers of single black mothers raising our children on their own, okay? And then on top of that, you also have a black economy, which is totally dominated by people who do not look like us. I don't care where you go on the planet, black people are not in control of their economy. Your rice, your bread, your milk, your sneakers, your...
It's Justin Blue, 60 seconds ain't enough, but let's get into it. So recently, pictures were released of George Zimmerman wearing a Confederate flag shirt while signing bags of Skittles. Now, for anybody that may not know, him signing bags of Skittles is pure evil because Trayvon Martin was carrying a bag of Skittles when he got murdered. And not only did Zimmerman get away with murdering an innocent child, but on top of signing Skittles, he also auctioned off the gun that he killed Trayvon with.
But I understand that you said this in one of your US interviews. I've got no trouble with killing brutal cops. True?
They have no trouble with killing what they consider brutal kids. See, my attitude is that just because you have a badge doesn't give you the right to murder me. Once a cop pulls me out of the car and handles me under the law, that's cool. But once he starts beating on me and taking advantage of me, no longer is he in the lines of law. He is now becoming some inhuman person, and he's determined. Now it's just 2 men out in the street. And one of us got to die, and it's not going to be me, you know? It's either you or me. That's what the record says.
Now, in the midst of all of this, my biggest thing is, y'all got all this talk about being a shooter, all this talk about being the realest, all this talk about being a killer, being a gangster, etc., but this man's still walking around. How? Now, to be clear, I'm not telling anybody to go out and kill anybody, but if that's the lifestyle you claiming, then you really need to evaluate how you moving. Because a lot of y'all are being used solely to destroy your own people and don't even realize it. Like, check this out. Nearly every major progressive black leader has been assassinated. At the peak of the Black Panther Party, they had about 2,000 members. They were doing great things for the community, and the government dismantled them. Now today, both the Crips and Bloods alone have over 30,000 members each. Now tell me this, why would they shut down the Black Panthers but let black gangs flourish? You do the math. If you consider yourself a gangster, a thug, or a shooter, you really need to think about what direction you always shooting in.
We have not been under the control of the black man for over 500 years, so what do we have to get liberated from them from? They haven't been our boss. That's the white woman and her man. They're going through that, and that's their business. We don't have any business being in there. They only introduced it to break down the civil rights movement. Civil rights movement started with the black man, the black woman, and the black child standing together, trying to plead for freedom, justice, and equality, and more benefits in the country that they had to have built. They threw the white woman in there with the women's liberation movement and made it a woman against man thing. That created a big separation between black men and black women because then everybody started going for self. Then they bring the welfare system in and tell us in order to feed and clothe and house our children, we have to give up our man. You have to put the man out of the house. When the white farm wife goes to the government for subsidy for the farm, they don't tell her to get rid of the farmer. They keep that family together.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
In 1961, future civil rights leader Fannie Lou Hamer went to the hospital to have a tumor removed, but was subjected to a hysterectomy without consent. The procedure, which rendered women infertile without their knowledge, was so common in the South that Hamer is said to have dubbed it the Mississippi appendectomy. In December 1990, the FDA approved a contraceptive called Norplant, and it was selectively marketed to black teenagers in Baltimore schools.
And it's time we start to encourage welfare mothers to be responsible.
That bill never passed, but the implant ignited a debate on whether long-term contraception, like Norplant that lasted 5 years, could be used as a form of social engineering when pushed to specific communities.
Flag is drenched with our blood. Because you see, so many of our ancestors was killed because we have never accepted slavery. We had to live on it, but we've never wanted it. So we know that this flag is drenched with our blood. So what the young people are saying now give us a chance to be young men, respected as a man. As we know, this country was built on the black backs of black people across this country. And if we don't have it, you ain't gonna have it either, because we gonna tear it up. That's what they saying. And people ought to understand that. I don't see why they don't understand that. They know what they've done to us. All across this country, they know what they've done to us.
In order to understand the importance of white Jesus or any image or symbol to the mind of any person, you have to understand subconscious archetypal programming. Our minds work on subconscious archetypal programming. Every memory we have is stored in our mind as a symbol, as an archetype. This is precisely why our ancestors in Kemet made an entire language out of symbols. People say, why did they go through the difficulty and complexity and cumbersome process of creating a whole system of communication based on symbol? Because they knew somehow in their genius, what we didn't learn till centuries later, that the mind stores everything as a symbol.
There is a problem in creating an image that you begin to believe actually exists. It's very dangerous. The image of spirituality claims that all of us are children of the Creator.
Said that they would never tell the origin. You don't never tell a person your origin, because a person can dictate how to control you based on how old you are.
Total witches have to be witches now in order to produce music. Thank you. The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on and is placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master is cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar, setting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master.
Known rejuvenating effects. Why do you think some of these old Illuminati Satanists live so long?
It turns out that drinking children's blood is an anti-aging device. This is just really sick and disgusting, but it's a fact. It's a chemical fact. And if you drink adrenalized children's blood, which is to say you terrorize the child, not just with sodomy, but with torture and with other satanic ritual things. If you adrenalize the child's blood before you kill them and drink their blood, this is a doubly effective anti-aging device. You can also harvest children's bone marrow. So children are being killed for their bone marrow as an anti-aging device for the elite. I don't make this stuff up. It's gone on throughout history. This is not new.
Today, many of the satanic elite are addicted to drinking.
You'd kill to look younger, but eternal life is terrible for your skin. Introducing the souls of innocent children. This proven ancient formula will give you the youthful, radiant appearance any witch would die for.
I am beautiful.
But wait, there's more. For a limited time, we'll throw in the spirit of a second unwilling soul absolutely free. Look younger or cease to exist entirely.
Bye-bye.
Watch Hocus Pocus tonight at 7:35, part of 31 Nights of Halloween on Freeform.
Hard for people to wrap their mind around the level of evil.
How could something like that exist in this world?
A sex trafficking ring going right under our noses.
The reason my daughter survived, because the Lord was with her.
That is where this good versus evil part comes in.
At the age of 3, my daughter knew what a man's looked like. I can't even imagine what they've done to her. I hope to God she don't remember any of it.
There's no more operating in the dark, because we will be there in the courtroom. And we aren't going to shut up.
To anyone who's ever had to suffer anything close to this, or just had your kids taken, fight and never shut up.
Parents are furious after 2 pre-K teachers were accused of tying their children's hands behind their backs with zip ties. Channel 2's Taisha Fernandez is live in DeKalb County. Parents say the teachers also threatened the kids. Taisha.
Jovita, according to those children, the teachers threatened to throw spiders on them if they didn't stop acting up. And that's in addition to the accusation that those same teachers took something like the zip tie, put it around the kids' wrists, and then tied their hands behind their backs.
This has really shaken me to the core.
This is the mother of one little girl who claims 2 of her pre-K teachers at Oakview Elementary in Decatur tied her hands behind her back like she was a criminal. The mother doesn't want to show her face on camera, but wants everyone to know what allegedly happened Monday.
She said that one teacher tied her up and the other cut it loose. And she said, "Mommy, I was scared to tell you because I thought I was going to get in trouble."
Anybody that supports Sharia law in this country should be deported.
So do you know what Sharia law is?
Yes, but it doesn't have
do you know what it is?
Me praying 5 Sharia law?
Of course, me praying 5 times a day is Sharia.
Okay.
Right? Like basic.
What about the equal rights for women? What about
that is completely separate from
so now you can be a Sharia law supporter and be half pregnant at the same time.
What are you talking about? You are talking about stuff you don't know anything about. Like, okay, I'm not going to attack you personally. But my frustration is that people talk about Islam without knowing anything about it. And they're willing to completely negate any of my rights as a human being, as a woman, as a person with agency, simply because they have an idea about what my faith is about. Excuse me, Islam to me is the most feminist religion, right? We got equal rights well before the Europeans. We don't take our husbands' last names because we ain't their property.
Much of the information that is brought forth, not only from Dr. Muhammad, but other areas, other scholars, are not available to you, as a sister said, in your curriculums that you have for 400 years when you did not allow us to read and write and was being hidden. Whether you, sir, personally did that or not, it was a legacy that was passed on to you. And I end by saying the Holocaust is simply the greatest atrocity on film. Ours was not filmed. Thank you.
Black people are not racist. We have never been. I listened to you all the way out. I gave you respect. We have never been racist. White people are outright wickedly racist. Right. Black people have never robbed you of your name. Black people did not put you in slavery. Black people did not take your religion, your culture, your God, your folkways, your mores, and your norms from you, bring you from a distant land and put you in slavery 400 years in another country. Black people never did that to you. But when you, with your foot on the black man and black woman's neck, find them now crying out and pointing out how you got your foot on their neck and asking you to get your foot off of their neck, now you call us racist. We are only giving you the history of what you have done and what you are still doing to us, and whether you are directly doing it or not. If America is a...
That black people say that anything that I do, anytime I come in contact with another black person, if I don't have anything constructive to do or say, see, listen to this now. If I don't have anything constructive to do or say, I'm not going to even be around that black person. All contacts should be of constructive value. You don't even talk to the person unless you have something constructive to say.
Yes.
All right? Black people, we're very talkative. All right? We like to high five and hug and talk and all like that. We need to do away with all of that unless it has something to do with some kind of constructive plan, some type of plan that's going to have a constructive result. Otherwise, don't even talk to the person. Don't say not one word.
And just a side note, we understand that the dynasties of China started off as Negroid. Even the Chinese and the Japanese, the Cambodians, all countries of Asia recognize those black faces, which is what they refer to them, which is where you get the title Li Ming from. Black faces. Those black faces are our ancestors. They recognize that. The first dynasty of China being the Xia dynasty. This was a dynasty of dark brown indigenous tribes of the Yellow River, right? Which existed around 4000 BCE. You see what I'm saying? And after the Xia dynasty, you have the Shang dynasty. And we know the Shang dynasty was split up into two parts. But after the Shang dynasty, we have the Zhou dynasty. And it started off as Negroid. As you get down to the third dynasty, that's when you get the yellow-skinned Mongoloids. For whatever reason, that's a whole nother...
Rerun. You see Dwayne? Not today. Oh, here he come.
How? To get his hand out. You told him to get his ID, sir, and his driver's license. Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
Don't touch me. Get out of the car.
Don't touch me. I'm not under arrest. You don't have the right to take me.
You are under arrest. Did you see what he was wearing?
Yeah, a dark hoodie, like a gray hoodie, and...
We want justice by any means necessary. We want equality by any means necessary. We don't think that we should have to sit around and wait for some segregationist congressmen and senators and a president from Texas in Washington, D.C. to make up their mind that our people are due now some degree of civil rights. No, we want it now.
Why are you buying third-rate junk from third-rate people thinking you can't make it? Why don't you at least make a safety pin to hold your child's diaper together?
Teach.
Who has programmed your mind at thinking you can't make a car? The first man that made a car that had never seen one previously.
Teach.
The Japanese bought cars, bought locomotives, broke them down and studied them, and had a Japanese technician produce each piece, put it together, and had a much better train than the one they copied from. All knowledge in the world belongs to everybody in the world.
Yes.
Who has programmed our mind in assuming that we cannot run a nation and run it well? The main thing imperialism did, slavery and imperialism.
Let me talk to y'all for a second. You see all these names? You see all that? See these names? These are real legit names. Alright? Now these are, and it's behind me too, all behind me, all over there. These are all the black people that died in the Civil War. Names of black people. Now when they tell you you can't kneel for the American flag, you tell them to kiss your ass because we died for the American flag as well.
Mrs. Moore has fond memories of her youth, but that was not always the reality for Negroes in Omaha or the nation as a whole. The end of World War I brought on a lot of change. The enlisted men were returning home. Government spending on arms was winding down. Competition for work became fierce. For the first time, whites had to compete with blacks for jobs. Whites turned their anger and frustration on black neighborhoods, spreading terror and fear nationwide. Many were killed. The year was 1919, and it was the bloodiest summer ever between the races.
Now, Brother Reason.
Yes, sir.
As you can see, we got, the soldiers up there, black soldiers that died for the, American flag, the Civil War. Right. Now, explain to them how disrespectful this is to our culture.
Yes, well, roughly 620,000 men died in the Civil War between 1861 and 1865. 209,145 of them roughly were black men. They gave us a statue, but not our reparations. They gave us a statue, but not our businesses. They gave us a statue, but not all of the means by which we can produce an economic boom for us as a people. It's disrespectful because they gave us a statue to freeze us in time, letting us know, y'all niggas, you will never go anywhere else, but you can always look good.
Money for the coaches. So I took it a step further and I started doing some research. And I want you to pay attention to these numbers, okay? 11 million, 8 million, 7 million, 6 million, 5.6, 5.7, 5.6, 5.4, 5.1 million, 4.7, 4.6, 4.5, 4.2, 4.2, 4.1, 3.9, 3.7, 3.7, 3.6, 3.5, 3.5, 3.3, 3.3, 3.2, 2.9. Did you notice something? Out of 25 coaches, 25 highest paid D1 coaches, 1 was black. 90% or more of the starting players on all those teams are black. But the people that are benefiting the greatest are...
You are subjects of white people. Even under ANC, even under the so-called democracy, you are subjects, you are servants of white people. No white man will be served by me. I do not serve white masters. I will never serve white masters. I'm here to disturb a white man's peace. They are right. The white man has been too comfortable for too long. We are here unashamedly to disturb the white man's peace. Because we have never known peace. We don't know what peace looks like. They've been living peacefully. They've been swimming in a pool of privilege.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are concerned about trouble and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publishing stories that simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 This is extremely dangerous to our democracy. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Do you have a big plan?
Yes, I got a big plan. I'm going to be leaving the world soon.
Before you leave.
Okay.
Before you leave.
That's my big plan.
Because you're doing valuable work. Do you have a plan of how we could make civilization better, more humane?
Yes. Education. Quite simply, read and study and turn off the television, turn off all the silly nonsense of government. And it's just incredible nonsense. And start educating yourself. The United States federal government is a privately owned company. It's a corporation.
The whole government.
Of course. It's a private. It's like General Motors, Ford Motor Company, Sears. It's a privately owned. But see, most people don't understand. The United States government is a corporation. It is a privately owned company.
Who owns it?
Oh, well, that's different. Now you're getting.
Now I'm asking the right
now you're asking the right question.
A boat carrying a flag rowed from one bridge to another 6 miles away. An observer with a telescope placed 8 inches above the surface of the water found that the flag and the boat were distinctly visible throughout the entire distance. If the Earth is a sphere with a circumference of 25,000 miles, then over a distance of 6 miles, the second bridge should mathematically be 16 feet below the observer's eye line. But in spite of the mathematical evidence, any further attempts to restore belief in the flat Earth seem doomed by one of the supposed great moments in modern scientific achievement.
From an analytical standpoint, photographic anomalies have to be sought out with an understanding of lighting and shadows. The most straightforward is simple. When objects are lit solely by the sun, as all the scenes on the moon were said to be, after all, lighting equipment was not only impractical, it was unnecessary in bright sunlight, then all shadows, regardless of the landscape, will run parallel with one another and never intersect, as shown by this example. In these seldom-seen photographs, obtained from a rarely used auxiliary NASA archival site, it is clear that these scenes were lit with artificial light. These shadows, which are cast at different angles, are evidence that a second light source is being used. In addition, the sun would not cause an isolated hotspot like this, only an artificial light would. Again, intersecting shadows
is gravity.
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
The genius, Albert Einstein.
Wow. No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know.
So did I accidentally ask a deeper question than I meant to?
Yeah, no, you were meant to ask deep questions.
Apparently I was.
In life. So to say, what is it? I think Einstein, in an Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature of space and time. And objects will follow the curvature of space-time, and we interpret that as a force of gravity. That's probably the best answer I can give to a what is gravity question.
And while the FCC says low levels of radiation emitted by devices like Bluetooth earbuds are safe, Moskovitz says animal studies show
you can see the effects even at very low intensity exposures.
Though most iPhone fans and longtime Bluetooth users aren't convinced.
I'm not concerned about that.
I have Bluetooth earphones. I'm totally fine. I'll still use them.
I'd say use wired. Stick to wired.
Now, the Apple AirPods will be sold separately for $159, and Moskowitz suggests if you do use any sort of Bluetooth earbuds, that you keep them turned off when they're not in use. He also points out you should never hold a phone against your body when it is in use. That is also generally in all manufacturer instructions for all phones, Ken. There is a minimum distance.
What I've discovered is there's no proof existing anywhere that extraterrestrials are real or that have ever visited this planet. There is not one shred of evidence anywhere. There is lots of evidence, tons of it in fact, that there are a group of people who want us to believe in some extraterrestrial threat from space so that they can cause a bringing together of all the people to resist that external threat. 8 times during Reagan's administration, he inserted almost the exact same phrase into 8 of his speeches.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Oh, wow.
You see it?
Yes.
The first one. That's the first one right there.
It's a little foggy on Instagram.
Okay.
That's going up the wall.
Yeah. Yes. You see the second one? See the second
That
one?
one's a little stronger, right?
Yes.
And you see, like, when it almost falls, it gets blurry, and then it stands up and it gets stronger.
Yes. It's like they were crawling or something.
Like a toddler, right?
Yeah. And they'll see when Amy came out.
Oh, it even moved over.
Yes, that's what I told y'all.
911, what is your emergency? I hear shots! Okay, ma'am, calm down. What kind of shots?
Okay, it's the break scene. Girl with balloon, ladies and gentlemen, standing in the back of the room. And I'm going to start getting in 100, 150, 200,000, I have already, 200,000, 300,000, 300,000, 350, 400,000, 400,000, 600,000, she'll be 600,000, anyone else? Last chance. And selling for 860,000. Yeah, if you could maybe get one of the technicians quickly to go and take it over there, that'd be great. Quickly. Okay, we're moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move on here. Sorry if I have your attention.
Evil.
Fuck him. Yeah, fuck Columbus.
Fuck Christopher Columbus.
That's a big fuck you. He's the first terrorist in America, that's for sure.
What do they teach you about Christopher Columbus in school?
They teach us that Christopher Columbus discovered America.
What should they teach?
That Christopher Columbus didn't discover anything and instead got lost.
Every year, New York held an Easter Day parade to which thousands came. And Bernays decided to stage an event there. He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
He knew this would be an outcry, and he knew that all of the photographers would be there to capture this moment. And so he was ready with a phrase, which was torches of freedom. And so here you have a symbol, women, young women, debutantes, smoking a cigarette in public with a phrase that means anybody who believes in this kind of equality pretty much has to support them in the ensuing debate about this, because torches of
America, America, later for America. What has America done for me? Nothing, but made me a zombie. I don't know who I am. I try to act like somebody else. No name, no language, no culture. Got our women acting like some Aunt Jemimas, Buells, Sapphires. Got our men acting like circumcision, Manti Molars, Willie Betts, and some Rochester's. What has America done for me? Nothing, but made me a zombie. Took away my uncle life, gave me some groceries, some dead white man hanging from it, teaching us about Mary had a little lamb. Mary was white, the lamb was white, and what about old Snow White? Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to give her poor dog a bone. I lied. She gave the dog a steak and gave the bones to Negroes. Neck bones, pig feet, ham hocks, chitterlings, guts. Made us gut eaters, whiskey consumers, dope users, Uncle Tom niggas. That's what America done for me. Made me a robot, a Frankenstein, a puppet. What has America done for me? Nothing, but made me a zombie. Integration, segregation, dehumanization, emasculation, frustration, and complete annihilation. If you are seeking a just education, we are taught to hate ourselves, that everything white is right. We are taught to hate ourselves. Everything we learn is right. Jack and Jill is white. Dick and Jane is white. Little Bo Peep is white. Little Jack Horner is white. Little Red Riding Hood is white. History is white. Civics is white. Math is white. Spelling is white. Social studies is white. Santa Claus is white. And he coming down from a black chimney. Shut up! No wonder black people hate themselves. America, America. Why did you bring us here? America, America. Why did you bring us here? To make slaves. To make us work for no pay. Yeah, for no pay. Work all day for no pay. America, America. Why did you bring us here? America, America. Why did you bring us here?
Who do you think gonna raise the kids? Who do you think gonna clean the house? So stupid Abe had to think about it, and guess what they came up with? They came up with a whole set of laws called the slave codes. And you know what they were? They were a set of laws to reinstitute slavery. Let me tell you what they were. There was the vagrancy law. A vagrant was any person who wasn't fully employed and didn't have a place of residence. You know who that was? The 4 million slaves who just found out they were free. As soon as they stepped up the plantation, you breaking the law, they locked you up. Wow. And as soon as they started that process, then they created what's called the convict lease program. You know what the convict lease program was? The convict lease program was a program that said once you were arrested and incarcerated, you could be leased back to the plantation. Sometime before your bed even got cold. Then they said, oh yeah, you want to vote? Sure, we got the literacy law. You know what that law was? The literacy law said that you could vote, but you had to first read this statement. If you read the statement, you were arrested. Why? Because the only way you could read it, if you know how to read, it was against the law. And so they had the legal system set up and designed to reinstitute chattel slavery. Now we got to fast forward.
One of the things about slavery is the slaves weren't freed. They were never freed. When the 14th Amendment or 13th Amendment, I can't remember which one, actually made everybody a slave. If you're a citizen of a country, you're a slave. That's what a citizen is. So they literally extended the slavery to everybody and made it an open prison. And that's where everybody in the world lives now. We're the slaves to very powerful masters. We don't see bars.
No.
Yeah? The bars are the borders of the country. Right? You have to use a pass to get out, and they'll let you out if you show them your pass.
The common law of the Fourth Crown of American Common Law, because it's a commentary on the common law of England, which is under Chancery, and the monarchical system, and the morphing into American common law, the Fourth Crown of Common Law. And this book is the commentaries on the laws of England in 4 books by Sir William Blackstone, Esquire. This is him, Sir William Blackstone, right there. And this is, this aside, this is the cover page, I think. You can see that. I believe that this was entered according to the Acts of Congress in the year of...
You can be a U.S. citizen or you can be an American, but you can't be both. It's impossible. You can be a U.S. citizen or you can be an American, but you can't be both. It's impossible. Anyone who claims to be a citizen of the United States, under legal definition of the United States, is pledging their allegiance to Washington, D.C. or the District of Columbia. They are not Americans. You can be a U.S. citizen or you can be an American, but you can't be both. It's impossible. You can be a U.S. citizen or you can be an American, but you can't be both. It's impossible.
Campus, in the first place, are complete separatists. The campuses I've visited, they don't associate with the whites. They don't eat with the whites. They advocate their own dormitories. They seem to me to be going back in time to separatism.
No,
when there was a white society and a black society.
I gotta disagree with you there now.
I think it's wrong for blacks to eat with blacks and whites to eat with whites.
Well, wait a minute.
We've been fighting forever to get together.
Why can't I know about me if you know about yourself? I know more about you than you do about me. You know nothing about me.
That's probably true, Jimmy, but
I have to know this. Do you call yourself a man knowing that I pay taxes the same as you, stay right here and use my sweat and blood to help build this country, and I got to be a second or third class citizen? No. Do you call it a man?
What would you he ought to be as good as me and do what
ought to be? I know I'm good as you. You mean ought to be?
But the condition of the condition. You haven't had a fair crack at it.
A fair crack? Well, how long it take, man? I'm 36 years old. When I'm supposed to be...
A man with my knowledge, what can you tell a man like me now? What's your suggestion? That's your question. Okay, you talking to me, not a dumb Negro or pork chop eater, don't know the truth. I'm free now. I woke up. Now, what are you going to tell me now? I done gave you my solution, some land of my own, doing something for myself like you, England, and America do. Now, I know you're not against the black man. I know you're not against me having my land, are you? I know you English and ruled and slaved forever for a long time. But do you still today don't want me to have my own country and build for myself and govern myself? Would you think that's bad if we thought like that? So what's your solution to my problem? 1974, then you all just, a white man just flew from New York to England in an hour, less than 2 hours. You all are so progressive. You're walking around on other planets. Now, today, I'm intelligent too now. What's your suggestion? What should be my movement? Integrate?
Yeah, equal rights in a mixed society.
In this society, where you still own the government, you still own the train station, the railroad plant, the lecture plant, these television cameras, you still make all the food, you control everything, and I'm like a leech on a dog's back. All I can do is just wait for you. I can't do nothing for myself. Integrating in your society don't mean I'm doing nothing for myself. You're doing it all.
I just wonder why sometimes, often black men choose white women over black women. I don't understand that.
Well, I think that's very easily answered by the fact that we still live in a world where we base images or beauty off Europeans. In other words, if America defines beauty as light skin, long hair, and blue eyes, haven't they told you what ugly is? There are still people, even in this audience, using terms like good hair. If you know what good hair is, you got to know what bad hair is. If you know what pretty eyes are, you have to know what ugly eyes are. That's dialectic. Once you know what it is, you automatically know what it's not.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God gave you.
That Africans were here before the Europeans. So what do you do with the heads in Mexico that you find at San Lorenzo, at Tres Zapotes? What do you do with those? All right? You ignore them. What do you do with Columbus's diary that says the Africans know a way to the west, but it goes around the doldrums, we would never survive? What do you do with that? You ignore it. What do you do with Balboa's diary that says we came upon this African village in the isthmus? How did these Africans get here? What do you do with that? You ignore it. Why? To preserve the myth that the Europeans were here first. What do you do with all of this written literature and history that says that Abubakari II of Mali sent 200.
Probably your most controversial thesis was that Africans, black Africans, came to North America before Columbus.
Yes.
Give us some insight into that research
Well,
that increasingly caused you to come to that
That's extremely
conclusion.
interesting because I actually began 26 years ago attacking this thesis. Because being trained at School of Oriental and African Studies, which is where we were led to do studies of primitives, all this was very strange to me. So when I came here, and the very next day I came to this country, I read this book, African, The Discovery of America by Lewin, and I thought it was madness. I was very impressed by the linguistics because I was both a linguist and anthropologist at the time. I was very impressed by the how could you have such coincidences? But I actually wrote an article attacking this thesis, and I ended by saying if anyone could show me just one image of an African.
I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me.
Let's talk about the basic issue of politics. The basic issue of politics is power. If you have power over me, you're going to abuse it. If I have no power to resist you, then I'm going to be abused. And I don't care what's in your heart. I don't want to know what's in your heart half the time. I want to know whether there's a weapon in your hand and whether I have the means to defend myself against it. Could be economic, could be social, could be political, could be physical, but I've got to be able to defend myself because I can't trust you. And that's an American statement. That is not a statement of some idealism.
Human soul to be found anywhere?
That's not the point. The point is that if you give people power over you and you can't defend yourself against them, our founders said they will abuse you, and the world, if I don't mind my saying so, from a black person's point of view, I don't have to prove to you that somebody's out to get me. There are 400 years of history in this country that people are out to get me, and they got me more than half the time. I don't have to prove that to anybody.
Man is judged by his conscious behavior, and the conscious behavior collectively of the white race toward non-white people has been the type of behavior that is practiced only by a devil or devils. The deeds that the white man has committed against black people is what is inflaming black people. There's no teaching inflames anyone. It's what you do to a man that inflames him.
Okay, I've been listening in this corner right here, and I've heard a whole lot of negative things from the white people here. When you were trying to explain yourself, the white people don't want to hear you explain yourself. They drown you out. They start already trying to drown you out and talk over you. There's a certain amount of white arrogance here, and they don't want to listen to what black people are saying. They don't understand because they don't want to understand. I've heard a woman here say, go back to Africa. Somebody said, we have a black holiday. What does that mean?
To those arrogant persons, you know, when you tell us, go back, please remember where you came from. And when you want to relegate somebody to a specific place, just remember what your origin is in this world. Please, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I want you to understand that you, wherever you are on the earth, you're not a native anywhere. You came there and took it from the native people who are there. So please don't talk about going back, because if others talk to you about that, where would you go?
In ancient history, pre-cataclysm, people began carving out large cities underground. What's that all about? Wait till you hear this. For centuries, people have told tales of caves and tunnels deep inside the earth. Subterranean passageways that led to lands of gods and monsters and treasures from beyond the stars. Should we be looking for proof of their existence, not in the heavens above, but in mysterious worlds deep beneath the surface? In 1963, a simple home renovation in the town of Derinkuyu led to an extraordinary discovery when a cave wall was opened, revealing a passageway to an underground city tens of thousands of years old and more than 280 feet deep. It is mind-blowing and is just one example of hidden knowledge of a civilization
the weaponization of this phrase that dates back to 1967. So if you haven't seen this document, now you're going to learn exactly when this phrase, conspiracy theorist, became weaponized to shut down anyone who would question our dear, dear centralized government.
Like I read, by 1984, the government will have tracking devices on all of us. And after that, they're going to jam electrodes in our brains so they can read our memories.
Our play should point out, as applicable, that critics are wedded to the theories they've adopted before the evidence was in. They're politically interested, they're financially interested, they have hasty, inaccurate research, and they're infatuated with their own theories as a way to discredit people.
If the U.S. government decides to stick a tracking device up your ass, you say thank you.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA? We do have people who submit pieces to...
Facebook announcing 2 voice-controlled video calling devices to compete with the smart home devices from Amazon, Google, and Apple. These devices are called the Portal and the Portal Plus. They'll focus on video calling with a smart camera that follows you as you move around the room, tapping into the 400 million people who use Facebook's Messenger voice and video chat every month. This is part of Facebook's push to connect its users to their friends and family.
He's not just a great vice president, he is a great friend. We've gotten so close in some places in Indiana, they won't serve us pizza anymore. They won't serve us pizza anymore.
And a year investigating a horrible secret. Tens of thousands of foster care children, even infants, given powerful mind-altering drugs and at times in doses and combinations considered too risky even for adults. And remember this statistic, foster children are given these potent drugs at an alarming 13 times the rate of other children. Tomorrow, a government GAO report will paint a portrait of a grotesque failure to protect foster children. But over the past years, so many of them have come forward to us to tell us about their lives, young kids living sometimes as sleepwalkers, sometimes reeling out of control.
These are the meds that I've been taking since I was 4. 1, 2, 3, 11, 12, 13.
Lexapro. The last one is Abilify. All the medications, they made me feel as if I had 1,000 bricks on my head.
These incidents add to the list of deaths loosely connected to the Clinton family, though none have ever been directly linked.
Selma Blair is apologizing today after suffering a bizarre airplane meltdown. This photo, obtained by TMZ, shows the actress looking out of it and being treated by 2 nurses in first class. Selma is now speaking out, saying in a statement that she blacked out from a mixture of booze and pills. In her mid-air freakout, she reportedly yelled, "He won't let me eat or drink. He beats me. He's going to kill me." It's unclear who she was talking about.
To be a billionaire. I wish that all the rappers had to walk around with their actual bank account above their head, because there's too much.
Talk about it.
Too much fucked up perception about how much money we got.
Talk about it, King.
Niggas don't got money like that.
Puppy.
We are informed as to the destructive capabilities of nuclear weapons. But when the issue of environmental modification techniques is raised, public opinion is totally unaware that these weapon systems actually exist. They don't know that they exist. Okay? And they're not being discussed. They're not being discussed in the universities. They're not being discussed by the media, and the extent to which they can actually undermine human life on planet Earth is not addressed. We now have HAARP, And HAARP has the capabilities of modifying selectively weather patterns in different parts of the world. Floods, hurricanes, earthquakes.
A network powerful enough to safely run a hyper-connected world beyond your cell phone, with millions of self-driving cars, delivery drones, smart homes, and even entire cities. But there's a catch. This fast internet travels on tiny wavelengths, much shorter than the ones the current 4G networks work on. That means cell towers or receptors will need to be much closer. Right now, the 4G range is about 70 kilometers. 5G can only travel a very short 300 meters. So future networks will need thousands of mini base stations everywhere, all over a city to relay the signals. Much more complex and much more expensive. Companies around the world are already investing tens of billions of dollars, fighting to be the leaders in 5G. Getting left behind isn't an option.
If aliens ever show up here on Earth, little green men might be the least of our problems. A new study indicates that instead, they'll probably be more like super intelligent dinosaurs.
We are taught that skin cancer is caused by the sun, which, first of all, I am 10 right now, right?
Yes.
I am 10 all my life. I never used any kind of sunscreen ever. If you see me or saw me in January in our Caribbean cruises, or you will see me in next January on the next cruises, you will not see me with any form of sunscreen. You will not see me out of the sun. I will be in the sun 6 to 8 hours a day. And you will find out whenever I die, I will never had skin cancer. So after 40, 50, 60 years of sun without any prevention, I'm one of the healthiest people you can ever run into. The sun actually prevents skin cancer. What we did with our patients historically, we put skin cancer patients into the sun, and the skin cancer usually disappeared with a little bit of hemp oil on it within a couple.
Sunlight does not cause cancer. People who get skin cancer are unhealthy. It's that simple. People in third world countries don't wear sunscreen, yet they almost never get skin cancer. Sure, many of them have dark skin, which protects you from the sun, but what happens when you go in the sun? You tan. Your skin gets darker. This is your body's way of protecting you from the sun. Yet in America, dark-skinned people are starting to get skin cancer and related melanomas. Why? Diet and lifestyle. Don't believe anyone who tells you sunlight causes melanoma. In fact, the opposite. Researchers in Sweden followed 30,000 women over 20 years and found women who avoid sunbathing during the summer are twice as likely to die as those who sunbathe every day with high exposure to sunlight. In studies all over the world, as sun exposure increases, malignant skin cancer goes down. The reason some people get melanoma after going in the sun is because they are toxic. They eat wrong, smoke, drink, and fill their bodies with all kinds of chemical crap. Their livers are clogged and their kidneys are so toxic that the blood is to push the toxins.
I'm here to tell my people it's time to stop believing bullshit. Just because a motherfucker tell you bullshit with a straight look on their face. We too old, we too smart, we too motherfucking good to believe shit don't make no fucking sense. You too old to be believing in evolution with your stupid motherfucking ass. Evolution say people came from monkeys, and the question is, why is there still monkeys, you dumb motherfucker, you? Is these the retarded monkeys? They didn't turn into people just yet. Get your stupid ass the fuck out of here.
You will notice in the pictures, stars show through the dark portions of the moon. And as I go through them, I'll blow them up a little larger so you can see these stars. I'll point to one. There's a blue star here, a white star. There's another star right here that shows up quite good. And that's that picture. Move on to the next one. You can actually see the stars here. Now we'll zoom in and we'll see a red star with a white star right in here. And then there's 3 stars, a white star, a blue star, and another blue star.
Okay, here we go. Nice.
Now one day you best bet we gonna get pulled over. That's the first moment we see of the film.
It's an intense moment.
The talk.
What to do when you get pulled over, what not to do.
To save yourself from possibly getting killed. Now when it happens, don't act mad. You gotta look calm. Answer their questions, but don't tell them nothing extra. Keep your hands out your pocket.
¿Cuál muñeco es feo? ¿Cuál muñeco es malo?
¿Cuál?
¿Cuál muñeco es malo?
Este.
¿Y por qué?
Porque, bueno, este es morena y este es blanco.
¿Cuál muñeco es feo? ¿Por qué?
Porque a mí no me gusta el color café.
¿Cuál muñeco te gusta más?
Este.
¿Cuál muñeco es bueno?
Este.
¿Y por qué?
Porque no me dan miedo los güeros porque tengo más confianza con los morenos.
I can. Do you live here?
You're answering that question, excuse me.
I'm
stop
sorry.
touching.
The keypad is right there.
I understand that, ma'am. but
You
you're-
can film me. That's
Okay,
fine.
I understand, ma'am, but you're blocking me. and I live
Into
here.
my building.
In a prison system called racism. Racism is the dominant political and religious force on the planet, and it's designed to do harm to people of color. That's what it's for. And if you really get serious about really trying to do anything to replace the system of racism with the system of justice, and it appears to be effective, you can expect to be killed. Why? Because we're in a war, and we're prisoners of war. If you try to dismantle that prison, and you are appearing to be effective in doing so, you can expect to be killed, like in any war. We're in a war. That's what racism is. Racism is war. I mean, we didn't ask for this war.
Again, white people did not exist on planet Earth until 1681. Number two, any claim that this group called white people, any claim that that group is rooted in biology or derived from genes or biology or is innate or is from nature is a lie. Third and final point. As a matter of foundational law, actually, let me say it this way. White supremacy has been embedded in the United States of America from its founding as a matter of law.
Activity. But white people have engaged in a violent activity. And that's why they are scared that we are going to pay revenge in a violent manner. So they show us, artificial, pretentious tears that they are scared. They are not. They are refusing to surrender the land, and their state of mind, because they are always resolving things through violence. The ownership of land in South Africa is a reserve for white people. And once you tamper with it, you are tampering with white privilege. And no one dares touch his white privilege. That's what they are worried about. They are worried about whiteness, because whiteness is ownership of strategic means of production in the economy. That's what makes them white. We ought to own the land. We ought to own.
So if I sign a record deal or a recording deal,
I sign away my masters.
I understand that I have come from a particular time zone that, because I was raised by Garveyites and nationalists, I remember that when blacks used to claim some heritage of being Indians, the response used to be, yeah, anything but a nigger. But then as I grew, I learned that the Indians we were seeing on TV were not representative of the indigenous people of this country. And when we begin to look at the indigenous people of this country, they begin to look like black folk.
Man, I be seeing y'all going crazy with the shit I've been saying on Sway. Niggas be like, yo, Walker said he not black. You're right, I'm not the Black America call me, and it's just hard for a nigga to be from the slums, the ghetto, the hood, whatever. Niggas want to say we from, and then when you become this celebrity, you get to walk around the world, get to travel around the world, you get to touch the people, and you get to find out the truth. And then when you get back home, what you call America, and you start telling the truth, the people you see that's in your community that's still plugged in the matrix and still trapped into what society tells you is reality. And you know it's not reality, you know it's not the truth, and it's hard to explain it because you truly learning still. You truly just experiencing false statements and false lifestyles. And it's hard to explain. But just know, my nigga, like, I'm black. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't the Black America side. You know? Get the fuck out the matrix.
Tonight we are having our junior Mission Cocktail pageant. So we have these 6 girls that are all excited. They have been practicing and going through different lessons for a few months now.
Hello, my name is Nishay Pillai.
Do you believe that the European was that powerful? Was that powerful to bring all these Africans over here?
The Europeans didn't do that.
Yeah.
The Europeans didn't do it, number one. The Europeans, only 5% of the slaves in this country from Africa.
Yeah.
Only 5% of the Africans were slaves in this country. 5%. And 95% were free will people. But they don't tell you that. But they will tell you 5%. Now you got to figure out the rest for yourself.
Yeah.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I could even think about bringing a child into this world, but then what other world is there to bring a child in? I mean, the world is a terrible place, and you know, I thought about my mother, my grandmother, my great-great-great-grandmothers, and what they must have thought about as slaves. Bringing life into this world. And, you know, we just decided that we were going to live. You know, we were going to live, we were going to struggle, and we're not going to kill our own hopes. We're not going to kill our own life. We're not going to kill our right to live. And so we just decided to be human beings, to be people. In spite of all the people that were trying squash us down and all the forces that were trying to dehumanize us, we decided to be human.
Everything from an African-centered perspective, and I'm getting tired of this dumbass question, why everything got to be black? For when you look in the mirror, Negro, what else can it be for you? For white folks, it's very clear. Everything got to be white. Even for black folks, red folks, yellow folks, and everybody else. We're the only fools in the world that ask such a question. Why everything got to be black? Well, look at yourself in the mirror and you'll find out why. And if that don't convince you, if you don't convince yourself that you look like Tom Selleck or somebody, because we can't do that, you know. Be looking so black and pretty, but think we're looking like something Clark Gable or something. And if that don't convince you, just the world of reality that you step into when you step out your door. Those realities Bring it right down front. Why it's got to be black.
It's called a soul plate. Okay, this is an original one. This is a real one. This is called a soul plate. Now, you can torn the word all you want, but to me it means they think that they have contracted your soul. Okay, so there are all these little things that they do that people don't understand their origins in law. So the purpose of putting your child's footprint on a negotiable instrument and creating a soul plate is to contract the child by putting his actual corporeal foot on a negotiable instrument before he puts his foot on the land and gets his inheritance. So that is the origin of this act that the doctors, titles of nobility, are doing for the king and the queen and the pope. So it's a simple act, and now you know the origins of it, and now you know the law behind it.
What we're going to do is just read the Jesuit oath, okay? So I'm going to have you follow along. It says,
I furthermore promise and declare that I will,
when opportunity present, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics.
I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive.
Rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women in order to annihilate forever their terrible race.
Turn the machine on. Denny Klein fires up his hot new invention. His machine emits a flame that feels only slightly warm to the touch. But watch what happens when he touches anything else.
Instantaneously, I can burn a hole right down through the center of that brick.
The flame instantly turns hotter than the surface of the sun. Heat so intense it takes only seconds to literally burn a hole through charcoal. 3 seconds turns a brass ball to glowing liquid metal. Tungsten lights up like a sparkler. Steel, lead, and other metals slices on contact. Yet the tip of the welder stays cool to the touch.
No other gas will do this.
Denny Klein uses an alternative fuel source once thought impossible. He says people still have trouble believing him when he reveals his liquid fuel.
Water. Take water and electricity, and we break it down through our very unique electrolysis process.
Well, when you put it in the frame of reference, everyone, when they talk about racism and white supremacy, should always start by saying that the focus, the objective should be replace white supremacy with justice. Those are the 5 basic words. And you start your frame of reference from that. The words are very important because when people talk about racism, they tend to get away from the basic focus. If you keep those 5 words in mind, replace white supremacy with justice, then you can keep focus. In many of these discussions on the matter, people tend to get into everything from feminism to words that don't have precise definitions.
And everything else, they go off on a tangent.
Yes, right.
Yeah, but this kind of locks it in.
Right, bigotry, discrimination, sexism, a multitude of isms. Biracialism, whatever that means, multiculturalism.
Whatever that means.
Yes.
Well, I would say black power would be the same thing to me that white power is, but leave out the brutality. Like this is white power. You own schools, your airports, your jet planes, being independent and not dependent on others, building your own houses, factories, and hospitals.
The country won't change just because it becomes more integrated.
Who are you kidding about friends in the world? Damn it, if you want a friend, look in the mirror.
It's an illegitimate transaction. But both black people and white people dance around that. They just say, oh, well, I mean, that's a personal thing. Let's not get into that. No, that's business. This is what causes a whole lot of racial strife. That's what put Emmett Till in that coffin. It messes up the black person's mind. If a black male, right now, having sexual intercourse with a white woman, all right, when he gets out of that bed, he's still dealing with what? His black skin in a white supremacist system. When he drives down the street from that house where he just left that white woman, all right, he is in the real world, okay? He's not in that little box called a house, okay? So he's got to deal with racism. on the job and everywhere else. That white woman don't have to deal with nothing. She don't have to worry about that.
Which he replied, go ahead and call the police.
And you see my keys in the door.
She followed him to his room until she realized he had door keys to get into the room.
You don't have to believe it, but they steal your soul from you right at birth. It's specifically your soul because you gave up the land. Now you pay for water on the water world. You know, you pay for rent and everything. Everything's supposed to be free. This is your inheritance. This land, you're birthed into this world. It was stolen from you. You are now sold on the stock exchange as cattle. They place you down as male or female that only pertains to cattle. Look it up.
More people die between 6 and 9 on a Monday morning than any other time of the week. So I do what I call a translation of the English language, and I spell that Trance with the idea that words cast spells. So when you translate that life sentence, you remember that awake is a funeral party for the dead.
They can tell you failed a chemical test when you passed. They can lie to get a confession out of you. They can lie and use trickery. They can use deceit. So long as it's not physical or mental coercion, they can lie. So as a tactic to make you feel comfortable, the police can even lie and say that you're off the record when you're not. You are never off the record. Never. Always expect to be on the record. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So even in the face of the police looking straight into your eyes and telling you that you're safe, to tell them everything and that it's just between you two, just know it's not. They're lying. I'm going to leave you with this. Police don't have the same code of ethics that lawyers and judges do. So they can use trickery, they can use deceit, and they can lie to get a confession.
Morning is the state you're in when you attend awake. And you would have to be in a weekdays to earn the living, since urns are for the ashes of the dead. We call our jobs undertakings. Job itself is a Hebrew word for persecuted. And what we get at the end of this perverse bargain with life is the weak end of the deal as we become progressively weakened ourselves. And so our most prevalent greeting to each other is hello, the reverse of which is oh.
Calling yourself little and young lets people know you still see yourself as a child.
How many black women have called a black man baby in their time? Tell the truth and shame to die. How many men have called the place where they sleep a crib? Ooh. And the brain computer prints out, man who calls another man the man, calls the woman he sleeps with mama, calls himself baby, calls the place where he sleeps a crib. A baby compared to a man is what? Powerless. But because we were not taught to understand nor to be truthful about the reality of white supremacy,
the papal bull state that you are owned as a slave. So you had 45 days to pick this up, the birth certificate, from the hospital. And you didn't pick it up. So what happened is they sent this off to the vital statistics office and they placed you down as a stillborn, a dead on arrival. And you forfeited your own child.
Carter, you found a cure for cancer? You've discovered the holy grail of modern medicine. Why the hell would you keep it buried like this?
I'll tell you why. Because there's far more money to be made in treating a disease than in curing it. Why cure someone of cancer in a day if we can treat them for a lifetime and bill them every step along the way?
Now, chemotherapy. Chemotherapy has a pH basically 1.5 to 2, maybe 2.2. The earlier chemos were closer to battery acid. The newer ones a little more less acidic, shall we say, but still right there with hydrochloric acid or a little hotter. I say somewhere between 10 and 50 times hotter than the 3 pH acids that are damaging the cell. So let me see if I've got this right. Your cellular wastes or acids, they're roughly around 3 pH. When these acids can't be eliminated out of the cell anymore because of lymph stagnation, you have intracellular acidosis. These 3 pH acids is what creates an atypical or a cancer cell. We're going to treat that problem with an acid that's 10 to 50 times hotter because
Those documents go into great detail about how the government was trying to hack phones, trying to hack tablets, even smart TVs. But now when you dig deeper into the document, buried way deep in there, is about how the government was also looking into hacking vehicles. But it turns out hackers have already been doing it. There's a gadget out there right now that allows people to use a little remote control and get into your car undetected, even start your engine. And that's not all. There are a couple of hackers who've even been able to take over a car remotely while it's driving down the highway, and it's all caught on video this morning. The powerful demonstrations you need to see before you head out today. As this SUV drives down the highway, these two hackers are pulling off the unthinkable.
No matter what happens, don't panic.
Taking control of it wirelessly, even turning the wheel. Other hackers opening car doors with ease using this little gadget.
If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old, I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Brother Reeves is here. Look, I've been holding this one in, all right? I gotta say it. When people talk about being an American, okay, when you talk about being an American, you're so proud and patriotic and, oh, God bless America, and all these beautiful things and these synonyms and acronyms and all these beautiful things you like to state. I figure that you really don't know your own country. America in no way is number one. With the exception of a few areas. For instance, America leads the entire world in the number of prisoners in one country. Number 2, the amount of money spent on its own military. Number 3, the country which has helped to assassinate more leaders in other countries and foreign lands than any other country. I think we can stop right there. Yeah, America, you're number 1 in those categories. Interestingly enough, a lot of the politicians are pedophiles and registered sex offenders. A large number of your police department are KKK Klans members. Donald Trump talking about going to war with Russia. He's just mad because Alexander Pushkin, a black man, created the Russian language. I better start learning Russian, Chinese, and Arabic.
This is a picture with which I'm sure it depicts things that most people in this region would be familiar with, which is the massacre of the Pequot in 1937 in Connecticut. This is one of the beginnings of a massive deportation of Native American people from New England to the Caribbean. So it then posits another question. Where did these people go? They go to everywhere in the Caribbean. They go to the Bahamas. They go to Barbados. They go to Jamaica.
When niggas love revolution like they love the bulls, you will be able to ask any youth on the street, who is Sundiata Acoli? Who is Assata Shakur? Who is Sekou Odinga? Who is Ruchelle McGee and Jonathan Jackson? You will be able to ask, who is Matula Shakur? Who is Queen Mother Moore? And they will be able to tell you without skipping a beat. When niggas love revolution like they love the Bulls, you will go on to ask them about Michael Jordan, and they will say, who?
Now check it out, black people. We always talk about group economics, black empowerment, but I want to talk about the elephant in the room, which is reparations. Can we get it, and how? Now, Brother Reza.
Yes, sir.
How can we get reparations to black people, and can explain that to us?
Yes, we must qualify for reparations by having our own nation, meaning we have to have our own flag, our own constitution, and our own army. The Japanese were given reparations recently in 1990, $1.2 billion, $20,000 per person. The Ottawas, the natives of Canada, some of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe were given reparations, and Israel was given $38 billion just last year, and they've been given $4 to $6 billion every year all the way back to 1948. Johnny Cochran's last wish was to give black people reparations, and right before he passed, he was calculating just how much we were owed, and a former physics U.S. professor of the University of Ottawa by the name of Dennis Rancourt calculated that we are owed over $59 trillion. That's $1.5 million per black person.
I've ever seen this before. Me neither. They're like making a little pillow bed.
What's your favorite thing about Turner?
That he's my brother.
What's the best thing about being sisters?
The best thing is you always have a partner to play with. You always have a partner to play with.
Why is it so important for you to make Jada laugh?
Well, I just like to see her laugh a lot. I never like to see her sad because when she cries, I'll cry.
If you could tell the whole world one thing about your sister, what would you say?
I would say she's the best sister I ever had.
Do not judge a book by its cover, because I believe that she has some amazing potential, but people most of the time don't see that, and that's what kind of makes me upset.
It makes me feel good to have a brother like him. I love you. Why? Because make me laugh. Make you laugh? Yeah, so hard. He has the best laugh in the world.
What do you think you'll be like when you're adults?
Kind and loving.